Yeah, hello everyone. You welcome back to this my YouTube channel where I will be taking you through some leading educational philosophers, those from the Western world and those from African continent. I am Maruf Akinwale Oladejo. I am from the Department of Educational Management, University of Lagos in Nigeria. Lecture objectives. By the end of this lecture, I strongly believe that you should be able to have acquired 80% proficiency to identify some leading non-African educational philosophers, those from the western part of the globe, to discuss the contributions of these non-African educational philosophers, to list some leading African educational philosophers, and to be able to describe the contributions of these African educational philosophers. Now, in the first instance, why is it important that we examine the works of these leading educational philosophers, both from the Western world and from the African continent? It is very, very important as students of educational philosophy, you know, to have an idea, to have knowledge about the works and contributions of these great educational philosophers. For example, this study will provide an overview of influential thinkers and theories in the field of education from a global perspective. I am trying to examine the works of educational philosophers, those from the West, the Western world, and those from Africa. So we are taking a look, a global perspective, to studying the works of these influential thinkers and their theories in the field of education. This study also explores the ideas and contributions of various philosophers who have shaped, the ideas have really shaped the educational landscape throughout history. When we engage in a study of this nature, it will provide a valuable insight into the ideas and theories of Western and African educational philosophers, offering readers a deeper understanding, of the foundations and evolution of education, especially in the Western world. Now, the ideas of these great thinkers have not only helped, in shaping the educational landscape, but also they have become the framework of many standards and ways of teaching in the modern day, educational practice throughout the world. When we go deeper into this lecture, you will also agree with me that most of the ideas, we are practicing in modern day educational system across the world are derived, from the ideas of these great educational thinkers. They are their ideas have really helped, to guide our modern day policies, our modern day, practices, because we have found their ideas very, very invaluable. So join me as we explore, you know, a brief history of these thinkers, educational philosophers, and their ideas that they, bequeathed to us as part of their own legacies, and which we have found very, very relevant to modern day educational practice. I begin with Socrates. Socrates was born around 469 BCE in Athens, Greece. He was often considered the father of modern philosophy. Why? Because of his innovative method of inquiry, which we now call Socratic method or Elenchus method. So there is this Socratic method, especially teaching, method of teaching, you know, at the primary or pre-primary level. So that makes Socrates to be considered, to be regarded as the founder of modern, Western, philosophy. He was known for his influential ideas, and that is what we are actually focusing on. Influential ideas and contributions to Western philosophy, despite the fact that he left no written works himself. He didn't publish any book. He didn't publish any book, but he has, his ideas and contributions greatly, influenced Western philosophy. Socrates questioned, he queried the authority of the gods. He challenged the established moral standard. He criticized the Athenian democracy. And these actions of his, the criticism, the challenge that he gave to the then, states, eventually led to his trial and subsequent execution in 399 BC. The then government of the day was not, you know, comfortable with those actions of his. He was tried and subsequently he was executed in 399 BC. What are the ideas of this great man? What, you know, are the contributions that he made? Socrates introduced an innovative method of inquiry known as the Socratic method. I mentioned it some minutes ago. And this Socratic method has been found very useful to teach the younger ones, the children at the pre-primary or primary level of education. Socrates also uh, made case for self-reflection and the constant questioning of one's beliefs and values, with his famous assertion that the unexamined life is not worth living. So that assertion clearly highlights the significance of introspection and philosophical what? Philosophical inquiry. So he believed that as human beings, we should, on a regular basis, constant basis, be questioning our beliefs, be questioning our values. Because if you don't examine your life, the life that you don't examine, whether it's actually worth it or not, is not a good life. And the philosophy of Socrates centered around moral and ethical issues, aiming to understand and cultivate wisdom and virtue. So, if you take a look at modern day Nigerian educational system, Nigerian philosophy of education also underscores the need for moral and ethical issues for us to be able to live a meaningful life. Socrates also believed that the ultimate goal of human life, what an individual is supposed to be pursuing in this life, was nothing but moral excellence and the alignment of one's actions with virtuous principles. That is why he believed that, his philosophy revolved around moral and ethical issues. So, the ultimate goal of human life, is nothing but to pursue moral excellence in whatever we are doing and the alignment of our actions, with virtuous principles. So these are the ideas of Socrates, which have, which greatly formed the basis of modern day educational philosophy, educational practice. Then we move on to Plato. Plato was also a Greek like Socrates. In fact, he was a student of Socrates. But Plato was born in Athens in 427 BC into a wealthy and influential family. And he began his own philosophical career as what? As a student of Socrates. So when Socrates was executed in 399 BC, which I said earlier on, this made Plato to travel extensively to study various philosophical traditions and ideas. So he visited places like Egypt, like Sweden, like Italy, like Cyprus, along with student of Pythagoras. We talk about Pythagoras as well. So, as a student of Socrates, he moved to all those places along with a student of Pythagoras. So, in 387 BC, Plato came back. He returned back to Athens and he founded a school called the Academy. The Academy was the school that Plato founded, established, you know, after his return to Athens in Greece. And this academy served as a center for philosophical inquiry and education to the extent that it attracted prominent thinkers and students across the world. Plato was a great writer, you know, unlike his teacher, Socrates, who wrote no books. Plato was a great writer, and some of his most famous works include The Republic, Symposium, Phaedrus, the Phaedo, and the likes. He died around 347 BC, leaving behind a legacy that has endured for centuries. A legacy that has endured for centuries. But what are his ideas and contributions when he was alive, as a great educational thinker? Plato divided educational level. He divided education into different levels and gave the commensurate age for those levels of education. From birth to 3 years, he called that level as the infancy level. So, infancy level of education is meant for children right from birth to what? To 3 years. Then for nursery school, another level between 4 to 6 years. So, children between 6 to 13 years are supposed to be in elementary school, while those from 13 to 16 years will be, uh, were supposed to be in instrumental music. So any children from 16 to 20 years will be in gymnastics and the military. Then 20 to 30, sciences. So if you look at these levels of education,